All right. So I think this is better. Can you guys hear me? And can you guys see? Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, this is much better. It's not like left and right because I was like trying to adjust my hat and then like the left is right, like over at the laptop. I'm just like, whoa. But yeah. In any event, so back to what we were talking about. So Trump said that uh, he's going to stop, temporarily suspend immigration for the pandemic. So we talked about what does immigration mean? I mean, there are parts of immigration he can't touch, like immigration court. I mean, he can probably stop visas from being issued because he doesn't want the visa carriers to bring in more virus. That makes sense. He probably can stop immigration from processing more green card applications, but then USCIS and Department of Homeland Security is going to lose a lot of money. And the DHS, a lot of its funding comes from the application fees. So I think that he's going to carry a big rock and throw it on his own leg if he does that, because I don't see how that helps with the pandemic in any way. So the conclusion for me right now is that I'm thinking, okay, no more visas for a while because we don't want people coming in. No more flights. That makes sense because flights carry virus. But he's gonna bail out the airline industries without flights. It doesn't make any sense. I'm so confused. So that's kind of like how my mind is working right now. I feel like it's okay. So immigration probably means no visa because you know how like he doesn't really know what immigration means. To him, immigration means people coming in, and if you think of it that way, people coming in, immigration, then yeah. And also, like I said, it's probably like a poll tweets where he tweets something and everyone kind of like jumps up on it and like, oh my god, I love that, like people from the Midwest, people who hate like immigrants, they're gonna be like, oh my god, yeah, no more immigration. And then he gets like this feel good moment prior to his election because he needs to do something drastic right now to get people's attention because he is falling. I hope he is. I last I heard he was doing well in the polls. And but with this coronavirus pandemic White House briefings, they're terrible, and he just like fights with people like a 5-year-old. So I can't believe if his numbers are still pretty up there. So this is probably something that he'll like can't delete as a tweet tomorrow, or if he does follow through on this against the better advice of all of his advisors, then someone's going to take him to court and this will be stricken down, just like the little travel ban that he had. It will be like cut down. So like I said, answering someone's question about would this delay a spouse visa from abroad, I think more likely so than like getting a green card from within the United States, because getting a green card from the United States does not create more problems with the pandemic, but getting a spouse visa and coming in, maybe, because you might be bringing in virus. You might be infected or whatnot. So, like I said, the court might say, okay, that part, okay, this part, not okay. So, like, just cuts it, like, and gut it into something that makes sense more with the objective, if the goal is really to help with the pandemic and to somehow make the joblessness better, then I guess the visa is more at risk of being canceled. So with that in mind, we can take questions. Otherwise, I think I will be just rambling. Leave this page. Okay, so I'm not really sure how, but I'll figure it out. Oh my god, they put a really terrible picture of me on the last live session. It was like, yeah, it was like a terrible angry picture of me as like the front photo. So can he really stop immigration? I I think part of it, yeah, but he can't stop immigration court. I mean, would he stop USCIS processing? That's what I want to know, because most of my income comes from USCIS processing. Can he stop USCIS processing? Probably constitutionally, I think he can, but it's probably not going to survive very long. And also, USCIS makes a lot of money, and the money from the applications go to fund other things like ICE enforcement and things like that. So if he wants his money to build a wall on the border, I mean, he needs money, and the more money that he loses from the USCIS fees, I mean, I just don't think it would make any sense. I mean, economically, if from a financial standpoint, it just wouldn't make any sense. I mean, so I doubt that's what he meant, like temporary suspending all immigration. I think he just says that to make himself feel good because his supporters from the Midwest is gonna be like, yeah, 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 like that's great, that's what we want. So that's what I'm thinking. But I am getting a lot of messages about from people about that specifically. So I don't know. Do you guys have any questions? I mean, I frankly, I don't even know what to ask at this time because I'm just like, first of all, can you define what you meant by immigration? Is that visa? Is that, green card? Is that citizenship? Or, is that enforcement? Because, ICE going out arresting people, that's immigration as well. I mean, are you suspending that? I mean, that would be a good thing. But I doubt that's the case. Okay, well then if you're not suspending that and that operation needs money, and the only way you're going to get money is from Congress, and I don't think Congress is going to give you money if you are doing something so ludicrous like this. And USC, if you're suspending immigration, USCIS is not going to collect fees. So if they're not going to collect fees, how are you going to have money to have ICE go out and arrest people? So I'm just like, what are you talking about? So I would say at this point, well, I think the message, the takeaway after all the emotions have calmed is to not panic at all, because we need more clarification. We need to know what the hell he's talking about before we start dancing on his tweets. Because I think one thing that the mainstream media sort of fails to recognize is that the more coverage you do on him, the more powerful he becomes. He's one of those monsters that feeds on people's fear. Like once he says something, everyone's like, I'm so afraid. And then like everyone just kind of like project their fears onto him and he grows. So I think that's him. So I think that, we're playing right into, exactly what he wants, by talking about it for hours, So, I mean, at this point, we can take the chance to talk about something immigration related. I mean, right now, USCIS is still accepting applications as of today, and they will be accepting applications all the way until the executive order is signed. And then after the executive order is signed, if indeed it's signed, it will probably pause, if that's indeed what he meant, for maybe a couple weeks. And I think some really smart lawyers associations or immigration lawyers or whatever, I mean, lobbyists, it's going to take him to court and a judge is going to sign an emergency judgment to stop that executive order. I mean, it might take a week or 2 weeks. I mean, everyone's at home, so the courts are closed. I doubt there's any, backlog, so judges can jump on this really quickly, and usually they do. And they find a Democratic judge to, to sign off on the thing. So a couple weeks later, I mean, we're going to be back in business. But is this really helpful? I mean, obviously not. I mean, we are already in a very messy situation, and now he's creating more mess. And it is messy, and it is a mess. So I don't know. It's definitely not helping. I mean, I don't think he's trying to help. Honestly, he's trying to, at this point, I mean, everything he does is kind of transparent. He's trying to appeal to his supporters. And somebody asked a question. Good. Will it impact F1 OPT application? Oh, I was in the middle of talking about that. So USCIS is still taking applications, although and then USCIS didn't come out and say, okay, things are going to be delayed. They did say that the H-1B is going to be delayed, but that's because they had a new lottery. But they didn't talk about citizenship applications, green card applications. They didn't talk about anything else. So I would imagine that given now that we're in a recession or downturn economically, less people are going to be filing the application. And therefore, I don't really see a really big slow unless officers are not able to go to work because of social distancing policies. That would create a delay. I really think there will be a delay, but how severe is the delay going to be? I am not really sure, because right now it seems like all the federal workers are still working. And Oh my God, all these questions are they scroll up too quickly. And how about F1 visa extension? Would that be affected? I mean, if he stops the consulates from issuing visas, yes, that will be affected. Are judges still allowing administrative closure of removal case in immigration courts? Yes, but less likely so. And usually, you won't need ICE to agree to administrative closure, and that's a really good question. And that depends on different immigration courts in different districts. They all handle it differently. How about removing conditions for green card? I mean, that's still the same. They're still accepting applications, still taking a while. Do you think EB3 GC process will be affected? Possibly. I mean, if he's gonna halt all the application from being processed, then there might be a few weeks of delay until his executive order is stricken down by the court. Please answer this. Is this travel ban or immigrant visa, or going to apply to non-immigrant visas too? That's what I thought initially. I thought it was some kind of travel ban that he doesn't want people coming in anymore, like on a flight, on different flights, because he already closed down the flights from Europe. So I'm thinking this is what he meant. Like, he's not going to let other people from other countries come in. That's what I initially thought he meant by immigration, although I really don't know for sure. Let's see. Somebody tell me what was Trump's tweet. Oh, so Trump says that he's going to temporarily suspend immigration and to help with the pandemic and help with the job loss. That's what he said, pretty much. Temporarily suspend immigration. But what does immigration mean? We don't know. So we're trying to find out what he meant. Well, we can't find out. We're trying to wait until he tells us what he meant. So thank you for thanking me. Will green card applications be delayed? Possibly. I do expect green card applications to be delayed unless USCIS figure out a way to process the applications and at the same time be able to observe social distancing. I think they can do that because, officers, they all sit in their own offices. So if they don't come out of the office, they're not really like closely interacting with each other. And there's a lot of space. I've been to immigration so many times. I mean, there's a lot of space. You don't have to be close to each other. It's not like a hospital, or it's not like, a jail. Like you are quite able to stay far away from each other and do your work in your own office. And a lot of times you can just call or do a video chat or whatever. So if they can still carry that on, I don't think that it's going to be severely delaying the applications from being processed. So that's what I'm thinking. Would H-1B transfer be affected? Would employers refuse to sponsor? Possibly, if they feel like there's not a certainty in the applications getting approved. I should do this more often maybe. Thank you, Juncture. I do have a YouTube channel. I just haven't really updated it because things are happening so fast. It's like, I need an assistant who needs an assistant to like upload the videos. And I frankly, I don't like the videos because they don't have captions. I mean, I need to like add captions, and it just takes so much time. I will one day. I mean, when I have a big enough team. So I am looking for a video editor. So if anyone is interested. Okay, what about the naturalization application? Oh, that's another thing. I don't think he can just stop naturalization because that's statutory. Like he can't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have to study my constitutional law books to determine that. But the president is powerful, but he's not that powerful. And sometimes if something requires legislation or the legislative Congress to do, such as suspending immigration application, he can't do it by himself. I don't think, but I mean, it's been 11 years since I studied constitutional law, so I'm a little bit rusty on that. I hope that there's some constitutional scholars that will step out and say that's not going to happen. I mean, I hope that is true. So your biometrics was last week, but it couldn't happen as it was for a green card. Okay, well, biometrics is going to come back. I mean, right now, we're all just staying at home, observing social distancing, so we don't affect each other. So biometrics is going to happen soon. And if you've taken biometrics before, they can use it for the future biometrics. So that is also something that's happening with immigration. Will they cancel all H-1B picks in the lottery this year? This is the second time that someone asked that. No, that's not going to happen. I mean, the H-1B lottery has already started. It has already finished. And they are going to, I mean, it's still ongoing. Sorry, I shouldn't say finished. It's still ongoing until the end of the fiscal year, and they will continue to fill in, the people that drop out. So it's not the end of it, but I don't think they're going to do a new lottery because why would they? I mean, there's no substantial, I guess, deviance from like what they wanted to do. Next question. So is that for non-immigrant workers on H-1B and stuff and students F-1? I don't know what that's trying to say, but if you mean immigration, yeah, I mean, definitely those two things are part of immigration. Can people join day one CPT in this situation? Of course, the schools are still open. I mean, I don't know if they're open, but they are taking in students because, they make money from students, so they probably won't shut down. And well, actually, I mean, if the president shuts down ICE and CBIS is not working, then they can't take students. So that's possible, but I doubt that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen because the lobbyists gonna go crazy and they're going to like freaking go berserk because they're gonna be losing so much money. But see, that's one thing. Like we keep going back to the same thing: money. Like if you do something that's going to cost more money than not doing it, then why would you even do it? And you have to really look at from Donald Trump's perspective. He wants two things: more money and more support voters. So if doing this and losing money means that he's going to get a little bit of support from the voters, I doubt he'll see the worth in this. H-1B selected. Would this dismiss my selection? No, it won't. That's the third one. Okay, so people really want to destroy that H-1B lottery selection. I can see that. What is this year's selected H-1B? Would that affect? Oh my God, this is the fifth one. No, the H-1B will still go on, and the lottery is still happening. And the lottery is still happening, and you still have a chance. But this is not going to nullify the lottery selection. I'm stuck outside of US, still on H-1B. Am I still enter US? Oh, see, that's a good question. Probably not if he suspends all flights or suspends entries into the United States. So probably not. So if you're already outside the US, you gotta hang in tight, stay put, and see what's happening with this new tweet. If H-1B petitions already filed, what will be the impact? Nothing really, because USCI is still accepting applications and reviewing them. So, and going back to what I said earlier, maybe there will be like a couple weeks of hiatus if he does sign the executive order, because a court is going to strike it down, and then things will be back to normal. My H-1B was selected. Will this dismiss my selection? Okay, already answered that question. That's number 6. Can we change employers at this time? Yes, you can. Even if we assume that such an executive order would be quashed by a federal judge, how strict do you think USCIS would be in approving applications? Very easily. Great question, because there's been three new H-1B cases where USCIS was pretty much spanked by the federal court. So what I mean by that is they lost on all 3 cases, and I covered those cases, in my seminar. So basically, they're saying you can't record when you look at the OOH. You cannot require that a position always require a degree. Normally require is fine. And also you cannot say that degree is not specific, like business administration, and deny it without looking at the other evidence. And they say you should defer to past approvals. So I do think that H-1B approvals are going to be easier from this point on. Definitely not going to get harder. And I've already experienced that. I mean, I filed an H-1B at the end of March, and it was approved in 4 days, regular processing. I'm like, what the hell is happening with immigration? I never had that in my entire career. So even back in 2010, I mean, they weren't approving something in like 4 days. This is not premium processing. Non-premium processing approved in 4 days. So I'm just like, what's going on? But that's a good thing. So I mean, I do see that as a sign that USCIS is streamlining at least certain types of H-1B cases and approving them really quickly. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so can we change employer? Yes, you can. Let's see. Is having a U.S. citizen child with severe asthma and ADHD learning disability enough hardship to qualify for cancellation of remote cases? Oof. I would say yes, you definitely have a shot. But it depends on how severe the asthma is, I guess. But yes, definitely gather all medical evidence and present it in court when the court is open. So you definitely have something. And I hope you've been living here for a long time, pay taxes, no criminal records. Those are definitely really, really relevant as well, in addition to the asthma child. So wish you the best. Okay. Will this affect any way for people with H1B who are in USA? In any way? That's a really broad question. Yes, I'm sure it'll impact people in the USA on H1Bs in some ways. Maybe slight delays in the application. Like I said, I don't know about the delays because people keep saying, okay, the pandemic leads to delays. But like I said, I mean, if you really look at the USCIS office structure, when you go inside, every officer has his own office. And it's a small office, but you can close the door and it's big enough for you to stay in there all day and you can have food brought in. You don't have to eat, lunch with your colleagues. You go home on a time schedule. You don't have to all go out at the same time. You can take turns for lunch so that the cafeteria isn't full of people. So there are many ways to practice social distancing within the federal building itself. So I doubt that, it's going to slow down the applications all that much. I mean, if anything, I think it'll speed up because during this downtime, people are not going to have money, and because people are losing their income. So they're going to be like, oh, I don't have money to pay for the applications right now, so I'm going to just leave it. So with less applications and more, and officers continue to work within their offices, they're going to only become more productive. That's what I'm thinking. So if you're asking me if there's going to be a delay, I mean, logically, I don't see why it would be a delay unless there's something really messed up that happens in the California Service Center or Vermont Service Center or the Nebraska Service Center where the meat packing industry where the virus just breaks out and then people just get all infected and have to stop working, then that's bad. Because if there is a outbreak within the federal building, then they have to stop that building from functioning. And when they do that, then all the applications will be coming to a stop completely. So I guess we have to keep our ears to the ground and see if there's any outbreaks within the federal building. There's several service centers that are crucial for different types of application. There is the National Benefit Center, for green cards for marriage. There is California Service Center and Vermont Service Center for H1Bs, and there is Nebraska Service Centers for Perm I-140s and Texas Service Center, and there is the Protomax Service Center for OPTs. So all different service centers handle different things. So hopefully they all survive the pandemic and nothing terrible breaks out. I'm sure they're practicing, social distancing, and they are all located in the Midwest where things aren't so bad. So, well, except California Service Center. That's kind of, California Service Center is I mean, it's looking in the gills, so yeah, I mean, that's probably the closest. But I mean, if you talk about Vermont Service Center in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska in the middle of nowhere, Missouri in the middle of nowhere, and Texas in the middle of nowhere, and Mesquite. So I doubt that a severe outbreak is going to be good. So that's actually pretty perceptive of USCIS to have their service centers, in these remote areas where cost is low, but at the same time, when the outbreak starts, it probably won't affect them. Would this impact H1B renewal this year? To be yet to be filed, already filed? I don't know. Probably not. In light of the attacks, okay, somebody is just quoting the president. I mean to ask is that restricting non-immigrant visas holders such as H1B workers and student on F1 visas to enter. Yeah, so I think that, entering the US on a flight is definitely reasonable in terms of risk of bringing in virus. So it's probably going to be stopped. I mean, if anything, because I think that's logically connected to helping with the pandemic. It's a reasonableness test. So for example, like I said earlier, is it reasonable to stop giving someone a green card because there's a virus outbreak? No. But is it reasonable to stop flights from coming in, with any measure because it might carry in virus? Yes, that's reasonable. So I think when you get down to the logic of it, I mean, that's probably the only thing that would survive. And I suspect that's what he meant by immigration. I'm going to stop immigration. I'm going to stop people from coming in. That's what he meant. I'm translating for him. Process EB2, would it be affected? Possibly. Like I said, I mean, EB2 involves Department of Labor and Department of Homeland Security. So USCIS, I don't see any delays, but Department of Labor, I haven't seen what they do inside. If people have their own offices and they're practicing social distancing and they're not stopping work because of the virus outbreak, then it shouldn't affect EB2. But EB2 does involve another agency, so I'm not completely sure. What about green card processing for someone who is already in the US? It depends on what kind of green card. I think it's like marriage. Then all these applications, if not halted, it should continue and it should be faster. I'm probably the only one saying this because everyone says, oh, it'll be delayed. But I think it'll be faster because less people are going to be applying because less people are going to have money to afford the $1,000, thousand some dollar filing fees. And I just don't think why it would be like severely delayed if you're in the US. So file now and at least, get your work permit and wait it out. The sooner you file, the better. And right now they're still accepting applications. How about H4 visas? Will USA allow new H4 visas applicants from India? Visa applicants, probably not. If we're taking the president literally, I think, like I said, visas are going to be affected. He might decide to not issue any more visas for the time being. How about H1 transfers? I just want to say, because he has more power to deal with what's happening outside the U.S. because he, gets to. Oh, somebody's asking me to go live in a group. Sure. How do I do that? Ragu, send me a link and then I will switch over. I think that's good. Wait, but a lot of my a lot of my viewers are not in that group. So I'm just gonna post that group so people can go there and then if they want to watch it, then they can continue watching it in that area. Or you can have them just tune into me. I don't know. I don't want to lose I'm on a roll here, so hold on. How about H1 transfer applicant? Is it impacted? Same question. Would he answer that? Probably not. How about F1 visas expired and OPT still valid? I don't think that's going to. I don't think this is going to impact you. Will DOL suspend their process? Yeah, I think that DOL might be slowing down if they are cutting workers or if they have less workers coming in to work on these applications. So with the EB, since it involves DOL, I'm not sure. So far, DOL has been really slow since November of last year. They've only certifying certain cases, so it's not really something that, has been sped up or anything like that. So I would say DOL has been slow. And I don't like that, but that's just how it is right now. Let me see. I have my H1B expiring this November and I am to apply for extension. Does this affect any of that? Probably not. I mean, you can file it in 6 months in advance, so that, I'm sorry? Oh, I forgot. Anyway, I'm on a live stream. Okay. Can my company start to file green card for me if the company just lay off people? Probably not, because you have to show that, you didn't displace US workers. So if there's been like a strike or like a mass layoff, it'll be difficult. What about current H1B lottery? It's still ongoing. What about the people who got struck in countries looking to get back to the USA? That's kind of hard. I think right now only permanent residents and US citizens are able to come back more smoothly. But I do hear that they're still processing entries from Canada, like, visa entries, like students, even TNs and H1Bs and things like that. So maybe if you go through like a Canadian land border, go to Canada first. I don't know if you are able to go to Canada, but like try Mexico, because I recently talked to someone who on a K1 visa, that K1 visa is about to expire, and they told him that he needs to reapply for the K1 visa. I'm like, F that. You got to go to Mexico and try to make entry because K1s are still being accepted at this time. So with people who have visas, I mean, try to get to the border and be admitted. I think they are admitting people, even though they say essential travelers. I don't know exactly about the Mexican border, but I think that they are still processing at least the work visas because they're essential. But like for students, I don't know. I mean, if anyone has recently come in from the southern border using F1 visas, let us know. I mean, that's something definitely. H1B amendment, I don't think that's affected. People stuck in different country waiting to get their H1 stamp from F1. Yeah, I think the visa stamping is going to be impacted for a while. I've got temporarily green card visa, but I have to fly there for confirmation. Will it let me get to in USA? Yeah, I think with the temporary green card you can come in because you're a permanent resident. So temporary green card okay, and regular green cards are okay as well, as far as I know. You're a green card holder and stuck outside of US with your family who has citizenship. Do you think I'll lose PR? Oh no, like if you stay outside for less than a year, but more than 6 months, you should be fine. But if it's more than a year, go to the consulate and ask for a travel foil. They should be able to issue one if they could see that you were stuck outside because of the pandemic. No one's really tried that, but I think that the consulate's going to be generous, in issuing that, especially when, because of the virus, you can't come back. I'm on a temporary green card expiring in a few months. I need to renew ASAP. Would this impact me? No, the USCI is still accepting applications, so it should not impact you. My boyfriend will be transitioning from MS to PhD program. His I-20 expires in May, but his program starts in fall. All the DSO needs to do is update I-20. Do you think it'll affect in any way? I don't think so. I mean, as long as the DSO is still open, the school is still open, and they're still processing the paperwork, that should be fine. And I don't think the pandemic is going to cause them to not process the paperwork. I'm waiting for perm approval to file I-140 and extend my H-1B. Should I be worried? No. I mean, for the I-140s right now, the premium processing is frozen, so you probably have to wait till June, at the end of June, to get the I-140 approved. Then you will be able to renew your H-1B. So hopefully your H-1B is not going to expire before that. So what about GC sponsored by family? Yeah, that's largely unscathed. So you will have to talk about, you have to let me know if you're talking about applying for GC for a green card for family within the United States or outside the United States, because that's quite different. From if you're doing it outside the United States, then how far along are you in the process? Because it could take several years. So if you're talking about the future, then they're probably fine. But if you're talking about now, and they are already at the process of getting their immigrant visa, then they could be affected by this new executive order. What about processing of U visa? I don't think that's going to be affected because that's also an application with USCIS. So all applications with USCIS, I don't think is going to be affected too severely by this executive order. Currently, I am on H-1B transfer receipt. Does it affect anything? What is temp immigration ban? How does it affect H-1B OPT students? Please explain. A little worried. H-1B transfer receipt. Okay, you're fine. You're just waiting for your H-1B to be transferred, and you already got the receipt. Processing of your visa continues, and that won't be changed. Can he just sign an executive order like that before passing the Senate? I don't think he needs to pass the Senate to sign an executive order. He can sign it whatever he wants. But whether the executive order is enforceable in the long term, I think is a question. So he can sign anything he wants, and it will probably go into effect immediately, but it would have to depend on what it says exactly, and then the ramifications will have to be felt after it's been dealt with in court. Did I miss the part about Trump's claim on the executive order? Claim on the executive order. He doesn't have to claim, he just does it. Let's see. What about, wait, after you're done with live. Okay. Oh, all right. So, did I miss any questions? Can you sign? Okay, no. All right. So, did I miss the part? Okay. What about for people already applied U.S. citizenship? I think you're gonna be interviewed when when USCIS reopens, and citizenship in LA takes still about a year, so you have to wait for USCIS to reopen. And like I said, I don't think since US citizenship is an application, I doubt that it's going to be impacted that much by this elusive executive order. Will I be impacted if I just got my M65 approved, my green card process? No, I don't think so. I haven't seen any USCIS delays in that, and this executive order isn't going to change that, in my opinion, because, like I said, it's going to get stricken down by the court, and, there might be a delay of a couple weeks, and people are going to be really mad at him for doing something really stupid, but things are going to be back to normal. Because he's not going to want to lose, tens of millions of dollars from the filing fees. My H-1B application got selected this year. Would this affect my application? Probably not. We answered that question 4 or 5 times already, so I'm going to skip it. Will it affect F1 to F4 change of status? No, it's an application with USCIS, and so far they're still taking applications. I am on H-1B visa. Would I be able to go back to USA once the travel ban lifts? Given that Trump just said about suspending immigration temporarily, if you're talking about will you be able to come back once the travel ban lifts, then obviously yes. I mean, the travel ban's already lifted at that time. Did I miss your answer? Do you know where we can check will the green card interview start again? No, I didn't talk about that. I think that most likely, if this executive order is signed, then the consul will be closed longer, and they're not going to issue any more visas for a long time. Not for a long time, but for a while, because the court is more likely to agree with the president to not, that he has the power to stop visas from being issued. So with all the visa questions, if I have a visa, I'm getting a visa, those would probably be more likely to see delays than like processing from within the United States. What about DOL, PWD, and perm processing? We don't know. I mean, Department of Labor has been slow. But not because of the pandemic. They were slow starting like November of last year. So I don't think that that's the issue. I mean, I don't think it's affected by the virus. And right now, I mean, we do have a lot of perm cases still pending. So I feel like it's slow. They've been really, really slow. So I don't know if the pandemic is going to help. I mean, I think it will because logically, in a pandemic, less employers are going to want to go through the perm process. Therefore, there'll be less PWR filing and less perm filing, which should enable them to get rid of the backlog and work faster on the cases because less employers are filing the application. So that's why I'm thinking about perm. I think perm with USCIS applications, if this doesn't get better in the next 3 months, then we're going to see, I don't think we're going to see a delay where actually I think it will speed up because less people are filing. And then provided that federal workers are still working on those applications, and they are now today. So somebody said, is that right? I don't know what that means. What group? I will be signing an executive order to suspend that group when I'm not aware, which I'm not aware. Oh, hey, Tony. And then what about F1 visa stamping? That's probably going to be paused. I mean, it's already not happening right now. Will this interrupt the active valid H-1B workers? Probably not. Hi, Masi. And will this affect 2020 H-1B? No. How does this and current pandemic impact USCIS site visits? They're probably going to be less site visits just because they have to practice social distancing. Currently on F1, initial OPT application submitted to USCIS in March. Will this be affected or slowed down? If Potomac Service Center is not affected by the virus, which it doesn't look like it is right now, OPT applications should not be affected by this. Next question is the same. So submitted H-1B still not yet picked up. Current status CPT, is there any issue? No, that's not affected by the executive order. I mean, it's the same boat. I mean, it's like filing an application when it's submitted. Because we're focusing on the executive order here. It's like, temporarily suspending immigration. What does that really mean? I mean, if you take it literally, yeah, everything stops. But I don't think that's gonna happen because even if he signs the order, it's gonna get stricken down by the court. So, where am I right now? I'm in the US. Did I skip a question? The US got GCEAD by family sponsorship, waiting for GC interview. Will this be affected? Yeah, I mean, I feel like USCIS is going to be closed a little bit longer than what they say. Right now, they're saying they're going to be closed until May 4th or something, or May 9th. But I think it's going to be longer than that. I mean, it depends on how the virus outbreak looks like. I mean, if it's keep going up, or if like people are still dying from it, and then the federal government would still not want to reopen. I don't know if it's gonna be like piecemeal, where California closes longer, but like say Utah, they are opened because they are not as severely affected. It's possible as well because different districts can decide when they need to reopen. So if you're waiting for an interview and you're in the Midwest, you're probably better off than you're waiting for an interview in New York or like in California, San Francisco and Los Angeles and Seattle. That's what I would say. I mean, if you live in a larger city, then, USCIS probably will be closed longer. But right now, nobody knows because we're in the middle of April and everything's closed. But I think gradually when things open up, I think there will be different states like what they say. Some states are going to open up faster. Is it affect H-1B transfer, H-1B extension, or green card? I'm in the US and I got. Oh wait, I just skipped that question. I think this is like a little bit overwhelming for me right now because I'm skipping questions now because I feel like I already answered it. I'm in the US and GC. Oh, okay, I already talked about that. I have applied for my H-1B with my previous employer. Joe submitted. I changed my employer. Can I still get the H-1B? Yes. Will this affect people who are entering into the US on B1 or F2 visa? Correct. I mean, I think that if you have a visa and you're outside, you should expect delays on coming in. People who are in India on visit, still OPT, same thing. You probably won't be able to come back soon. Can you still enroll in the Day-1 program with a pending COS application? Yes, you can if the CVIS is still active and you can transfer it. If not, then you might have to go outside the country and come back, like automatically validate your F1 to be able to do that. So let's see, Master OPT expired in June, got picked up. Will be able to get cap gap? It's a really long question. Well, if you're selecting the lottery and your OPT ends sometime after lottery selection and your employer files the H-1B petition before your OPT expires, then your work status would automatically extend until October 1st because of the cap gap. So your employer would have to file the application really fast if your OPT is running out. Is this order will affect H-1B processing in the year? No, I don't think so. It'll speed things up. I'm just going to keep saying that. It'll speed things up because less people are going to be applying and there'll be less transfers because less employers are hiring, and therefore we can see an overall faster processing of the application if provided that the service centers don't have any virus outbreak within itself, like the meat factory in North Dakota or wherever. My master's cap gap. Oh, I think we already answered that question. Okay, well, there's more. My master OPT expiring in June. H1B got picked. Wait, it's the same question. Will this affect new green card perm applications under employment category? Possibly. Like I said, it'll probably speed things up. It'll be faster, I hope. But there might be a slight delay if he does sign the executive order because we have to wait for the court to cancel that order and then get back to where we were. So there might be a few weeks of delay, but I don't think it'll be much longer. Will it impact H-1B extension on amendments? Same answer. Expect a few weeks of delay, but overall you should see a trend of faster applications because less people are applying. All immigrations will be suspended means it will affect Canada and Mexico border immigration too. That's what it sounds like. He doesn't want people coming in. Immigration does include the borders. If I get H-1B on October 2020 but outside the US and the AIT suspend issue, will I lose my H-1B? No, you're still good. You just have to wait till they open up and give you the visa. That could be months, but you're not going to lose your H-1B. Well, you're going to lose your H-1B if your employer decides not to offer you a job anymore, so that's another thing. One of my friends went to India for stamping. Is the border effect for him to come back? Yes, it is. I would imagine so. You have said that deal is slow. I agree. My question is whether it will stop working after the executive order. It might. I mean, if the executive order specifically addressed the DOL on the issue of perm and PWR issuance, it's possible. Before we read the executive order, we really don't know. What do you mean by expecting delay coming into US if you're on a visa? Is that because of the travel ban? If the executive order is signed, I'm predicting that the part about people coming in on visas, without visas, and all of that will survive the core more likely than not because it has more logical bearing to helping with the pandemic. That's what I said earlier. Will it have any impact on H-1B extension, which are being filed this week? No. Can I apply for H-1B while H-1 and F-2 is in process? Yes. Does this EO mean current new H-1B application will be considered or not? Of course it'll be considered. Why wouldn't it be? My brother is working in India and his company started his paperwork on L1. He's about to go to the visa interview. Oh, magic word, visa, probably going to be delayed. Thank you, Ahmed. Any impact on H-1B transfer? No. If no, then how many months to expect to transfer? If you file now, probably 6 months or 7 months, but I've seen approvals really quickly, so it depends on the type of case. When can we expect premium processing to resume? June 29th, that's what they said. No earlier than June 29th, that's what they're currently telling us. Does COS from F1 to H1B still good? Yes. That's a really loaded question. It's a yes if you don't have any issues like maintenance of status, if you don't have any school issues. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap up here because I lost like half of the people. So I'm going to jump to another group and see what questions they may have.